In today's math lesson, we're going to continue to talk about fractions. You can see here I've got some different food, and you might not know it, but you actually use fractions probably more than what you think. So you can see here I've got a sandwich, and I've got two pieces. And to review that fraction, we would talk about that bottom number tells us how many pieces we have. So I put a 2 since I have two pieces. And we'd also need to put that top number, which would tell us how many pieces we have eaten, or maybe how many we've colored in. So I could say here I've colored in one piece out of two. But when we're talking about fractions, this fraction, 1 out of 2 or 1/2, would talk about this sandwich. Since we have two equal pieces, one piece would be 1 out of 2, and the other piece would also be, that's just one piece out of the 2. Now this orange would be the same exact example. You can see I have one piece out of 2, and then I also have one piece out of a total of 2 pieces. Again, here's one piece, here's 2. Now moving on to the apple, think in your head how many pieces we have. So if I drew a line, think about what number would go down here on the bottom in this box that I just drew, what number would go down there, and then think about what number would go in this triangle on the top. Okay, so if you're thinking that bottom number is a 4, you're correct, because we have 1, then we have 2, 3, and 4 pieces. And then that top number would be a 1, because we would be wanting to label each piece of this apple. So this would be 1 out of 4, and then we could keep doing the same thing on each piece. So 1 out of 4, and so on until every piece was labeled. So again, the top two show us halves, the apple shows fourths, and then the pizza is a little bit trickier since there's a lot more. So as I draw a line, I want you to be thinking about what number would go in this bottom box, as well as what number would go in this top triangle. So be thinking about, I'll put an X here if it helps you to count. So if you were thinking that that bottom number should be an 8, you're correct. So we can count that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now the top number would be 1, because each piece is worth 1 out of a total of 8 pieces. So this is talking a lot about food. And what we're going to work on today, and I'm going to have you guys practice to show me a little bit about some of these fractions, is how to label these pieces and how to divide squares and circles into each of the fractions that I ask you to do. So we'll start, we're going to do some together. You can see here I have a circle. Now if I asked you to make it so that this circle showed 1/2 here and then 1/2 here, what we would need is that bottom number tells us how many pieces we need. So how many pieces will we need for this circle? We would need a total of 2 pieces. So to do that, I can actually drag this piece here. I'll put it in our circle there. And then we can take this piece here and put it in our circle here. So you can see this circle has 2 pieces. So since it's 2 pieces, that bottom number would be a 2. And if I only want to take one piece, so I've got one piece here, this piece would be worth 1 out of 2. And if I got rid of this piece and I changed and brought this other piece back in, this piece would be 1 out of 2 as well. So again, that bottom number tells us how many pieces, the top number tells us what each piece is worth. This piece is worth 1 out of 2. If we got rid of it, this piece is worth 1 out of 2. So moving on, now you can see here I've got a circle that's divided into 4 equal parts. So again, what we could do is we could make a line in each piece, and again the bottom number tells us how many pieces we have. So 4 would go here, 4 would go here, and the bottom 2 pieces would have a 4 on the bottom too, since there's 1, 2, 3, 4. The top one, this piece right here, is 1 piece out of the 4. Same thing with this, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 4, and 1 out of 4. Now you can see I can fill this shape in to show you that it is a total of 4 pieces. Here, this piece, think in your head, what is this piece worth? This piece is worth 1 out of 4. This piece is worth 1 out of 4, 1 out of 4, and 1 out of 4. So you can see here right now I've got one piece out of 4 colored in. Now I have 2 pieces out of 4 colored in. I could repeat until I had the whole entire thing colored in, but the big thing I wanted you to remember is that each piece is worth 1 out of 4. The last one we're going to talk about, actually we got one more after this before we move on to have you guys practice some. This one, I want you to be thinking what would go on the bottom of this line that I'm drawing here. If you said a 3, you're correct, because there's a total of 3 pieces, and then the top number, this is 1 piece out of 3. Same thing with this, 1 piece out of 3, and then the last one would be 1 piece out of 3. And again, I could take these and I could cover them up so that we see that it took 3 pieces to fill in that entire circle. So now that we've had a chance to go over and review a little bit about halves, fourths, and thirds, what we're going to do today is you guys are going to get a chance to take and you will cut out some squares. You can see here I'll have you guys each get a page that's got some squares that you can cut out. Now what you're going to be practicing today is you're actually going to be practicing showing me fourths, you're going to show me halves, and then you also will show me eighths. So let me go back and show you. If you remember, there's a couple different ways that you can show halves, and the big thing is that you have to have 2 equal pieces. So one of the ways that you can show halves is just by making a line go up and down, which would make it so that you have 2 pieces. Another way that you can do this is you can go sideways, or what we would say diagonal, from corner to corner. So you have a piece on the top that's the shape of a triangle and a piece on the bottom which is the shape of a triangle. But again, I made 2 pieces that are the exact same. So this is what would be another example of halves. So again, halves or half means that you have 2 equal pieces. And then fourths, there's actually a lot of ways that you can make fourths when you have squares. One of the ways that's probably the easiest is just to make a window here. So I can just make a window, and then each piece, remember I have to have 4, they have to be the exact same size to show me 1/4 or fourths. Another example would be to make an X, which would have 4 equal pieces, and then the last way would just be to draw lines straight up and down until you had a total of 4 equal pieces. And then one of the things I'm going to have you do today is to see if you can do the challenge problem, is to make eighths. And all that means is if you look at that bottom number, it means 8 pieces. So to make 8 pieces, here's one example. Okay, so now let me show you even closer. What they've done is they've taken and they've made a window here, and they've also made a window here, so that you get a total of 8 pieces. And then the other 2 ways, you can see here I can make an X over my window. So again, what they did is they made an X over their window. So here's my window, and then what they did is they just made an X over their window to show 8 pieces. And then the last way to show eighths was, again, just to make straight up and down lines until you had 8 pieces. This is probably a trickier one since it takes a lot more pieces, and you have to make sure that they're all the same exact size. So again, what you're going to do today is you will have a worksheet from me that you're going to take these squares and you'll cut out each square, and then whatever the worksheet says. So for example, if the worksheet said that I want you to show me, we'll make a new page here. So let's say that this is your worksheet here. So this is your worksheet, and I have 1/4 written right here. What you will do is you'll take and cut out this square, one square, and then what you'll do is you'll divide it into fourths by just drawing lines. You're not actually going to cut the square into pieces. I just want you to take a pencil or a marker or crayon and divide this into fourths, and then what you'll do is you'll glue it right over where it says fourths, and then you'll move on to the next spot where it says maybe thirds, and then what you'll do is you'll take the next box, use a pencil or marker and make thirds, and then glue that one right over the top of thirds. Then you'll go to the one that says halves, and then again you'll take the next one that says halves, cut it out, divide it into halves, and then again glue it right over the top where it says halves. So again, we're going to practice you guys show me how to make halves, fourths, as well as some eighths.